everybody. Welcome to another Gene Vlogger stream. I was about to say Professional Genealogist Reacts, but hello, everybody. Hola a todos. Hola, pessoal. Bonjour a tous. Hello, allemaal. Thanks, everybody, for joining today. Hope you're all doing well. We have a whole bunch of pre-stream starting chats going on, so we're gonna have a lot to go through, but doing the same thing as 2 weeks ago technically. I will be building your family trees. So the way that this works is that I have a Google form which is linked in the description. I also just put a link in the chat for both Twitch and YouTube, which I'm streaming on both. So if you're on one and you're not following me on the other, be sure to follow me on both. It helps me out. So I have a form, just go in and submit it. Now, I did mention this in the last stream, and I'll mention it again in terms of a lot of people love to have their brick walls as what they want to submit because that's what they want done. But if you've done a lot of extensive research on that brick wall, me figuring something out in 30 minutes is unlikely. So one thing I suggest is other things you can submit other than brick walls are just if you have a family ancestor who you'd really like me to build their tree because you think they're interesting or it's an interesting tree or just anything like that. But of course, if you do have brick walls, feel free to submit those. It's just a little riskier about whether or not I'll be able to get much done on it anyway. But with all that said too, just to try to save privacy issues and all of that, I don't want anything submitted that I don't remember exactly what I said. Let me look it up. What did I say? It won't show me what I said. Basically, if people were born after 1930 or died after 1950 or 1960, I think I said, yeah, 1960, then don't submit those. Basically, just if you were dealing with people around that time, you just have a lot of possibility of then pulling things up that are on people that are alive right now. So that's why that is. So with that said, let's do a quick jump through. Hello to everybody. I'm just going to do a big click through of just kind of everyone. I know usually I kind of say, everybody's name and all of that, but I think today I'm just going to kind of click through quickly, but hello to so many of you. Of course, so many names that I recognize from so many various streams. So, awesome to have all of you here. Yeah, a viewer's family tree, you say? I do say. And goedenavond voor alle mijn Duchies. So yeah, lots of people here today. So loving that. But yeah, we definitely want to jump into that. Yeah, we got such a big crowd from the Netherlands. So, but I guess that makes sense when I do a lot of Dutch research. So, all right. So did that click through. One other thing that I also wanted to announce is that I have a new channel that I will have starting. The first video dropping is on the 31st. It's nothing crazy. It's just a clip channel. Saw my cousin jumping in here. Had to say hello. Oh, nice. Another cousin in Perth. Yeah, we have a lot of cousins. So here is the new channel. I'm putting a link into it. It's just a clip channel. Let me actually kind of pull it up on stream. And basically, I've just done so many streams now that I've been thinking about doing this for a while. And so I decided that I'd go ahead and do it. Once the first video comes out, I'm hoping to have a new clip every day. And basically the idea is getting clips from all these streams that I'm doing right now, just to show all of you that's coming up on stream. Yeah. So I already have a whole bunch of videos scheduled, so you can kind of just get an idea of what's going to be coming out. So all of this you can already go and see in my live streams. But of course, live streams are long. A lot of mine are, hour to 2 hours, some even longer. So I have it cut in, you can see various amounts of, just 1.5 minute clips to all the way to the full hour of me reacting to Mr. Beat reacting to me. So a lot of stuff. So I just wanted to announce that because I'm hoping to get that channel a lot of subscribers and viewers right off the bat, because for one, and I'm kind of, I need to make a living off this stuff. And so I'm trying to create another revenue stream. So just wanted to announce that. But with that said, we have 13 responses so far. And the way that it's going to work, I have this random number generator pulled up, and we'll put in however many submissions there are. And then whichever number comes up, that's the person who I choose. Since, we've only been going for about 5 minutes live, technically, I'm going to give it just a couple of more minutes. Go through a couple of more these. Who are you going to make a family tree of next after this? So I think, Blake, what you're asking is in terms of like my celebrity family tree builds. And the person I had in mind, which I mentioned this on the last stream, was Shane Gillis. For one, because I'm a big fan of comedy. I actually just went to a comedy show this past weekend, almost a week ago, which actually was a stand-up comic who I went and saw with my cousin, Catherine, this cousin right here. We went and saw Zoltan Cassis in Philadelphia, and I just saw him again this past week. So comic I really enjoy, but I enjoy a lot of comedy. And so Shane Gillis is really big into history. And I've seen a lot of various podcast stuff where he's talked about like family stories of his, and like he's talked about doing genealogy, I think, if I remember. He didn't like get into it, but like, basically said, I got on Ancestry or something like that and went and looked at stuff up. So he's one I have in mind because I think a lot of people would be interested in seeing that. But also, I'm kind of hoping that, with that, one of these days, one of the actual celebrities I'll be building their tree for will get into the chat. So, that's definitely what I'm hoping. We have one of our wonderful admins here, Matt Bishop. So for everyone that doesn't know, I have a couple of mods, admins. I never know exactly which specific titles they each have. But Matt, Charlie, and Blackberry Rose helped me out a whole ton, so I always like to shout them out. But also, we are on, or they help me out, especially on the Discord server we have. So if you'd like to get on there, a lot of genealogy going on there, but also just a lot of off-topic stuff and various conversations about things. So just a place to check out. Yeah, I think it'd be interesting if you did a YouTuber family tree video on someone that is of Asian origin. So I've actually spoken to a few YouTubers of various Asian ancestries, although admittedly, most of them were more either West Asian or Southwest Asian. So I met Arvin Ash a few years ago at a YouTuber event in Denver, and I talked to him about doing that, and he was somewhat interested. Arvin Ash, for those who don't know, is a YouTuber who does science stuff. I think astrophysics and a lot of stuff. Very interesting guy, very interesting channel. But I talked to him about doing stuff. I've also talked to a few people that have various, I guess you could say, Middle Eastern backgrounds, Western Asian backgrounds. Al Mukaddima was one of them that I talked to about doing it. And then who else? The other thing is I've reacted to a lot of YouTubers who have Asian ancestry, and I've mentioned a lot of those. Like, hit me up if you want me to look into this stuff. So, yeah. Did anyone get thrown out at Zoltan's show? No. And when I did the meet and greet with him afterwards, I mentioned that, and he was like, "Oh yeah, you were at that show." So when Catherine and I went to the show for Zoltan in Philadelphia, the table like one over from us, which the one in between us was empty, but one over from us got into a fight with another table. And Zoltan actually released videos of this on his like channels and stuff. So if you watch his videos and all that, and you saw the you saw the fight video, that my cousin Catherine, who's here with us right now, we were right there, literally right there, sitting next to it. So okay, so we've got 15 responses so far. I think that's pretty good. Turn that notification off. So let's just do 1 to 15, and whatever generates, that's who we'll look into. So we've got number 4. So number 4, Karma Gal. Okay. I'm pretty sure Karma's here. Obviously, you know, one thing I think I mentioned before, but I'll mention again, when you're chosen, you do have to be in the stream. So, you know, once you're picked, you know, I'm going to give everyone basically a minute or two to basically be like, hey, that's me. I'm here. And she's here. So we're going to dive into this. So we've got an interesting ancestor. And my 5th great grandfather, James Whitehouse, his wife, Sarah, maiden name possibly Vaughn. His son, Thomas, was my 4th great grandfather. Also, look at younger son, Benjamin Franklin Whitehouse. Such an American family when you find a Benjamin Franklin something. But I've built enough American family trees that I know that stuff, 19th century names, they loved naming their kids after, you know, American heroes. What research have you already done in an attempt to obtain your main goal? Newspaper articles, some of the 1700s, census records, Old Bailey records, other family members. And then we've got the wiki tree. So, Karma, is this a brick wall for you, or is this more of a, you know, fun look into sort of one? Oh, we've got some more people coming in. Sean, our Portuguese contingency, which you missed my terrible pronunciation of Ola Pasoal. I'm sure you're probably laughing at that now. Okay, James was born in England. All right. So, oh yeah, look at that tree. So, okay, so that's really built out. So we're definitely, I think we're going to do it the quick way. So that's not shown on stream. Good. Okay. So we're going to get that live stream family tree. Okay. So live stream family tree. Here we go. So, by the way, I do want to mention here, this may be interesting for a lot of genealogists. What I'm doing here in this tree, this is what's known as a tether tree. And a tether tree is a technique for organization within the Ancestry tree software. You can do this in other softwares as well. The idea is that the main person of the tree, the home person, is just a placeholder. And I'm not using this in the typical way people would use tether trees, in that tether trees are typically a team research technique. So that's when like multiple people are working on a project together. So maybe it's a community. A lot of times it'll be genetic genealogy. So this is something that was something I learned about doing from a couple of genealogists in the investigative genetic genealogy field. I think I kind of changed it a little bit for my own senses, but what you do is you create that placeholder, and then you just keep creating more placeholders. The names don't really matter too much, but let's say, you know, I'm working with a friend of mine on their ancestry, their DNA matches, and we don't want to step on each other's feet. So what we can do is we can create a tether tree. And the tether tree, what we'll do is we'll put in different DNA matches as these separate ancestors. And what those will stand for is basically people to look into. So when you look at your DNA match list, you build off of that to figure out who to look into. And so, you know, maybe you just do, you know, obviously you'd put the names in, DNA match 1, DNA match 2. So, you know, these people aren't husband and wife or anything like that. They're just different people. And then I go in and I'm like, okay, I'm going to start working on a new match. Okay. So I'm going to go into DNA match 1. So then I go in and I start working on it, and I basically can, you know, I can put a tag. I can, where are the tags? Did they change it around? There we go. So I can go and put a tag on it of just my name. And then the other people working in this tree know, okay, Jarrett took a hold of that. And once you feel like, the way that I always did it was, once I felt like, okay, I actually have a hold on this match, then I go back in and I untether it from the tethered part of the tree. So then it's its own floating tree. So you go into edit this, we untether it, delete those. And now we have DNA match 1 hanging by himself. And if we view tree, we're not going to see DNA match 1 because now they're gone. So that's where you have to, you need to keep track of all the different things and you need to tag stuff. For the purpose of this stream, I'm just doing this in the sense that I have one place that I can go where I can build all the trees for everybody that I'm building on, especially because I'm thinking that it's a possibility in the future I may end up choosing people that had already submitted. I don't know how I'm going to handle that necessarily, but I think that would be interesting to have a continuance of research, I guess you could say. But with that all said, let's close that. We're going to do James Whitehouse, senior, male, deceased, and we're just going to do October 16, 1758, Finnsboro. Wait, what is it? 16 October 1758. And the place was Finnsboro. Wait, no. I don't think there was a park in there, so we'll take that out. Boom, boom, boom. And we'll put in the death as well. Actually, what did you give us? All right, well, we'll leave it at that. So, fun look. I can go up at least 1 or 2. Okay. He was a naughty over in England. That's great. Okay. So, what we'll do, and as my typical streams go, I always like to kind of talk about what I'm doing almost in a tutorial-like sense. So we'll try to do that. But the 3 main steps that I take when I'm building a family tree from the start, where let's say it's like this, where I'm just going to be building somebody's family tree just from one person. Like they give me one person, they're like, okay, go. So like almost like, here's my grandma or grandpa or whatever. So we'll add in all the facts that they know. So we have Sarah Vaughn. Okay, so we'll add in all this. Oh, wait. What is it doing here? I need to untether that. I did not realize that was like that. Okay. There we go. Okay. Sarah Vaughn. All right, so if I'm given a tree like this, where I'm given basically, not considering this, but just this stuff, very basic stuff, the first thing I do is I enter everything in and I see what hints I get. So the first step is just hints. His son, Thomas. I keep going to the wrong spot. All right, let's close that out. And then younger son, Benjamin Franklin. Okay. So what I do is I first do the hints part. And if I don't get hints, then I go on to the searching part. So by searching, I'm then actually doing a search through the database. So right now we're getting no hints. So then I do searching. Now, if searching doesn't turn anything up, or once I've hit the wall of what I can get from searching, basically just searching through these databases, that's when we get into the research phase of what record sets are out there that we have to access in a much more expanded way or much more complicated, in-depth way. It's not going to be a quick search, or it's going to be on a separate website or something like that. So we'll do a search here. This is probably going to turn up a lot because it's already a whole bunch of stuff for the family, but we'll kind of just focus on records. So we've got to find a grave record. Find a graves are always great. We use that. Get that added. Greater London. I think we'll keep that. Okay. So we have, okay, so Thomas isn't on the Find a Grave, or at least not connected in yet. Just to answer that, would you say that a 0.9% Nigerian reading that my sister got was a trace result? Yes. Trace result not meaning that it's false. Trace result meaning that the possibility that it's true is not as strong. I saw Dan Edwards in the chat, so I don't know if I should use the word confidence. But yeah, so 0.9% Nigerian, is it true? There's a possibility. The other thing you have to consider, though, is what your ancestry is. I don't remember what yours is. I know we've gone over yours in various streams and stuff. But, if it's something like, Latin American ancestry, it's very possible that you could have 0.9% Nigerian coming in because there was a lot of mixture in various places between African people with African ancestry and people with non-African ancestry. Obviously, a large part of that coming from a lot of the Africans who were enslaved and brought over to the Americas. So a lot to consider with that. So, definitely, would be labeled trace result, but trace result in of itself isn't like, a final statement of how trustworthy it is. So, yeah. Okay, yeah, I had to ask out of curiosity. Plus, my sister got 10.3% North African readings, which, interestingly enough, with the North African readings, the population is very different than the sub-Saharan populations. Not to say that there isn't correlation, because I'm sure there is, but it definitely seems like with the North African readings, those correlate much more to Mediterranean populations, things like that. So, okay, so we're going to keep going in building Karma's tree. So one of the things with, hint, first step hint searching, then searching, and then, researching is, it's not always like only doing hints, then only doing searching, then only doing researching. A lot of times it's doing one and then going back and seeing what comes up. Because one of the things is that, a lot of people talk about AI and genealogy, and hints are AI. We've been doing AI with genealogy for a long time. So a lot of people have that actual experience to understand that, okay, if we look at hints, it could be right. This artificial intelligence that's telling me based on what it, has figured out, this connects. It could be correct, but there's a lot of times that it's not correct. And it's the same thing with most AI stuff in general. It just varies on what type of AI you're dealing with. With the hint system, this is geared specifically towards genealogy, but for something like a large language model like ChatGPT, or what a lot of people call an LLM, those sorts of things aren't really going to help you in the actual researching function. They're going to help you in the workflow and all of that. So I just wanted to mention that because AI is such a big topic. So, throw that in there. But basically, we did that one Find a Grave, and now we have all of this extra stuff. But I think what the focus was Benjamin and James Whitehouse. At least that's yeah. Also look at younger son Benjamin Franklin Whitehouse, and then that was your main aim, was just interesting ancestor. So we still don't have a lot, but we do have hints on the wife, and so let's look for records that will give us more information on him as well, which should hopefully then put in more hints. I will not do a GenieNet community trees index because GenieNet is just trees built by other people, and that might have errors in it. And whenever we find family trees online, we always check that before we add anything in from it. At best, if we add anything in from it that we can't confirm with further records or whatever, you should at least do a tag where you can say, unverified or actively researching or both, or, things like that. Ways so that you can do that, which are extremely useful in terms of if your tree is public. because that's one of the big issues is people will put their hypotheses in their trees and they know that it's a hypothesis and it's unverified, but then other people don't. And then next thing they know, there's dozens of trees with this information. And then they are able to prove that, oh, whoops, it was actually wrong. And now that wrong information has been just propagated all over the place. I was going to say propagated. Propagated. Okay. So not doing GenieNet. 1820 United States Census. Those ones are tough when you're just starting out on a family because you don't get the full family with the censuses back at this time. You only get the head of the household, and then you see all these markings on the side tell us how many people were in the household. So we have Sally, free white persons, males 16 through 25 too, and we can see all this. So they, all free white persons living in this home. Total free white persons 4, total all persons 4. This is how they did the 1820 census. But because we don't get that much information, it's much more harder to correlate to our family. Sarah Vaughn here, we've got a birth date that seems to match up. We've got the father. We have a hint. We have more hints from the system. We're not going to do that. Basically, what I'm going to look for, okay, we got Civil War pensions. And that's telling us what we want because we want the story of James Whitehouse. So if this is James Whitehouse, then we're going to get the what's so interesting about him, which is that he served during the Civil War. So 11th Kentucky Infantry, certificate number. Okay, so we've just got, this is just the index. So she got married again. All right, here we go. No, that's not what we want. And death of a child. So seems to be, let's add this in. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do another search on him, but we're going to change it up a little bit. Actually, the tags have been around for a long time. I don't know how long they've been around, but I know I've been utilizing them for a long, because especially when I was doing investigative genetic genealogy, I was working with a team of genealogists. I was working with a team of DNA analysts and serologists and law enforcement and all sorts of people, just all sorts of people that would need to, look at this stuff. And so, we needed to always make sure whatever we had was as clear as possible about what was going on, because with a lot of that work, you're doing a lot of various types of building of trees, and you're trying to, you've got to make kind of hypotheses to see what's going on. And, you don't want to confuse people. So yeah. Just looking through. Okay, yeah. James was an indentured servant. That's how he came over here after his release. Oh, wait, yeah. Why am I talking about the Civil War? Okay, wow. Let's go back. I screwed up here. So this is not the right, because he would have been dead before the Civil War. So okay, I'm glad I caught that. Whoops-a-daisy. Whoops-a-daisy. There we go. So not him. All right. Yeah, OpenArchiven has a plug-in for ChatGPT, if I'm correct. So you can ask questions like, what's the average age of this person's children when they died? Then he tries to find answers with records. Yeah, there's a lot of various tools with ChatGPT. And you can do a search for them. Basically you go in and there's the explore GPTs. And so you can do genealogy. So you have like all these different ones. Nothing. Okay. Yeah. It's probably just open. Yeah. Huh. There's a lot, but they all vary for different stuff. So I mean, Italian, Irish, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, very interesting. James and Sarah's graves were lost. Only the general location of their location is known. Interesting. So obviously that's not a picture of them. Let's see what this says. This log house stood on Scrubgrass Creek was the homestead of James Whitehouse and family who came to Kentucky in the late 1700s. James and Sarah Whitehouse came to Kentucky in 1783 from Fauquier County, Virginia. Is that how you pronounce it? Fauquier? Because, yeah, it sounds near me. We have Fuquay Varina. So it's like, it makes me want to say that. With a group that Simon Kenton brought through the Maysville area. One of the Whitehouse sons, Benjamin Whitehouse, lived in the house. So this is Benjamin Franklin Whitehouse they're talking about, but it is not known who built the structure. Benjamin married Mary Polly Sparrow Hanks, daughter of Lucy Shipley Hanks and Henry Sparrow. Lucy was the grandmother of Abraham Lincoln. Oh, well, that's cool. The house stayed in the family until it burned in the 1920s. Those in the photograph are James Exon Edwards and his wife, Hattie Rhodes Edwards, Lewis Edwards, all of them. Yeah. Wow, that's cool. So, okay. So Lucy Shipley Hanks is the grandmother of Abraham Lincoln. So does that mean that Abraham's only a grandson of Lucy and not Henry? So that would make them half. Yeah. Interesting. Very cool. Simon Kenton was an adventurer and friend of Daniel Boone. Cool. And this is your fifth great grandfather. That's cool. That's cool. So we can James Wagon Train Whitehouse. Interesting. Okay, let's see. Newspapers. "32nd annual White House reunion." Is there still a White House reunion, Karma? A basket dinner was served. Games business meeting was in charge of Isabel Whitehouse, president. All the people present. That's cool. Let's see. Oh, that's just talking about was the immediate ancestor of this branch of the White House clan. So let's go back to this. It's a big tree. I never know. Are there does Does WikiTree have a way where you can look up the numbers, the total number of descendants? James Whitehouse married, 24 grandchildren, 8 descendants. Let's see what James Whitehouse. Let's see what Jeannie says. And then I think after that, then I'm gonna pull up a new one, which, by the way, okay, we've got more people submitting. Keep submitting. My hope is that each stream I'll end up doing 3 or 4. So we'll see. Where was I? Here we go. Jeannie. So on Jeannie, they have 944 descendants. Although my guess is that they're not all added in, which, that's the case for a lot of stuff. So this is only 3 generations of descendants here. So you can see the full size of the tree down here. So 3 generations of descendants. Let's see what happens when we go up to 5. So, okay, I need to zoom out because it looks like getting into 5 gets us into possible living territory. Yeah. So, yeah, I imagine he must have much more. Because I know for like my Nunes Vaz family, I have a ton of it's like about 4,000 something descendants from my ancestor around the same time. Jacob Raphael Nunes Vaz, which all the Dutch Nunes Vaz descendants descend from him and his brother Abraham, who married sisters. So Raphael okay, wait, yeah, actually Raphael's the generation further back, I think, right? Yeah, 1758. So that's equal. So 4,230 descendants. So yeah, lots of kids, lots of descendants, including a celebrity. Yeah, I imagine there's probably a few celebrities. So yeah, see, with my family tree, when I look at the descendancy here, this is a Dutch Jewish family tree. So basically, I zoom in and it's all, murdered in the Holocaust, murdered in the Shoah. A lot of them. So you see a lot of 1940s deaths, and not for everybody, but yeah, it's my family tree. So all right, let us jump to the next one. I think that was pretty interesting. Kind of gave me some random stuff to talk about in terms of the tree building, and then just fun stuff to look at. Oh wait, no, whoops. Go to tree. Okay, so we are at 20 now. Got it. We're at 20 people. I guess I'll let a few more people submit and just kind of check through chat, make sure there wasn't anything crazy I missed. I guess not. Nothing too crazy. So, Jose, apparently I'll be testing with 23andMe. Hope I find some French in me along with the Italian. Yeah, very cool. Yeah. The one thing I say, once you get your results, snapshot them and try to save as much as you can, because with 23andMe, we don't know how long it's going to be around. So for anyone who's on 23andMe, I highly suggest that. I know I've had people ask, even with everything going on with the company, is it worthwhile to still test with them? And honestly, I would say yes, in the sense that there are a lot of people who have tested only on 23andMe, and the only way to get into the 23andMe database is to test with them. So you may be missing out on a couple of cousins, or, even just one relative that may be the person that'll break through the brick wall. So I do suggest doing it, but definitely understand the risks. I don't know if, 23andMe will necessarily become defunct as a company like that anytime soon. I think that, if it will, if it does, go out, I think it'll be bought by some company, and then it'll be a question of what does that company do? Which I guess that would be the only chance of them being like, well, we bought it and that's it, we're done. I don't know if that will be the case or not. I know a lot of people are speculating if it is bought, it'll be a pharmaceutical company or some form of some sort of a health company, but I don't know. I should actually mention here, hopefully, if it gets edited in time, because I sent it to my editor later than usual, so he's had less time with it, and it was not a super long reaction, but a little long of a reaction. My hopefully next reaction coming out will be my reaction to Company Man's video about 23andMe, which was something as soon as I saw, I wanted to react to it. But shout out to my Discord server where I had, I forgot who suggested it. I want to say Maven might have suggested it, but someone suggested it. And if you have suggestions of videos you'd like to see me react to on the reaction channel, join the Discord. You can put that stuff there. There's other ways to suggest it too to me. You can always do that in comments and all that. But yeah. Okay. Jaden McCarroll. My sixth great grandfather is Kunta Kinte. Very cool. So, like, are you actually a descendant of Kunta Kinte, not just trolling? So, which would mean that oh gosh, what is his name? Haley. Why can't I think of his name? Alex Haley. Yeah. So that would mean you're related to Alex Haley. So. Isn't that a fake? No, he's a real person. So Roots is like one of the things that really got genealogy, like, I don't know, blowing up in the US. Basically, the whole series, from my understanding, while somewhat very cool, related through maternal grandmother, well, the whole series isn't necessarily completely true. Obviously, it's somewhat fictionalized so that they can, make a really interesting narrative out of it. It is based on what Alex Haley did, and like he actually went over to Africa and spoke to these griots, who, he sat there for hours and hours and was able to then find the story that correlated with exactly what had been passed down to him. And one of the things I love about it, at least in the original, I have not watched the newer one. People need to tell me if the newer version is definitely worth checking out. I think I heard good stuff about it. Just haven't had time to check it out. But in the original one, after he figures out that he, this is where he's from, this guy comes running up to him. He's like, Kinte, cousins. And it's like, this like, reunion of cousins. Which one thing I would be really interested in, and I don't know if the family's ever done it, but I would love to see the possibility of what they could do with DNA testing like that, because for most African-American families, they don't even know the name of which ancestor came over from Africa. For Alex Haley's family, for this family, my understanding is that basically, this story was passed down through word of mouth. And it was because of that they were able to keep track of the family so much further back in time. But, for most people, they can't do that. But for this family, they can. And so that would make me really interested. Like, can we get, well, actually, I don't know if there is any Y-DNA lineage descendants from Kunta Kinte. But if there were, doing a Y-DNA lineage descent with that, and then one with someone over in Africa from that same area that has the Kinte name or something like that, or at the very least, just doing autosomal DNA testing and mitochondrial DNA testing and just seeing, what kind of connections might be there. Granted, depending on how they're related, might not be that line. But yeah, that's really cool. That's really cool. So you must be a cousin of Alex Haley then. A fictional character in the movie, but is based on actual ancestor. I mean, I don't know how much is fictional. I mean, I'm just saying that in the general sense of that anytime you watch any sort of historical movie or TV show, it's at best, 90% true or whatever, So, Kunta Kinte was a real person. He existed. That was his original name. The story that's told in the series is largely what is there, but I guess it's largely like the conversations they have, the interact, it's basically they have generalized stories and then they just fill it in. So it'd be like if I did one of my YouTuber family tree series, and instead of doing it like I do, having it where I have actors and a script and everything. And it's like, obviously I'm not going to know what the actual conversations were and all of that. But I can get it so it hits the general points within the narrative story of that family. Yeah. Roots as far as the lineage is completely false. I will admit I've never known how true it is or not. I guess I just assumed that it had been reviewed enough. But then again, that's something that I think a lot of happens nowadays a lot of times with all sorts of stuff, is that even people in the history field and all that, we're told things by all sorts of people of, this is what it is or this isn't. And, over time you kind of realize, oh, actually that wasn't true. I know a big one for a lot of people is the whole, people didn't bathe and people didn't wash themselves for thousands of years and all that stuff. And then actually, yeah, they did. I know if anyone follows Fake History Hunter on Twitter, that's one of her biggest gripes that she goes after people with is, people post all the time, Europeans 1,000 years ago didn't know how to clean themselves, but they learned it from this group or that group or whatever. And, it's like, well, no, they were cleaning themselves. We know it. We have the proof. I think that was LeVar Burton's first movie. Yeah, that was LeVar Burton's first movie. It was, from what I understand, it was basically one of those, he went and tried out and just, he got picked as like, the guy out of all the people. I have a fair number of famous cousins in my tree. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know how true that is. Your comment is the first I've ever heard of that. So, yeah. Oh, cool. Thank you very much for the super chat. I'd like to see you try my Armenian great-grandfather, but I fear you get stuck quickly as it's a brick wall. I'm curious what you think, though. Yeah, I mean, I don't know anything about Armenian genealogy, but just since you did a super chat, I'll pull up the wiki that I would always pull up for this, that being on Family Search, and see what it says on Armenian. I don't know if you've ever seen this page, Toodaloo, Fruitaloo, which, by the way, I love that username, Toodaloo, Fruitaloo. So doesn't look like they have a whole lot here. Armenia online genealogy records. There's some stuff. I'm guessing with Armenia, a lot of it's going to be, in Armenia itself in various archives. And I don't know the history of Armenia super, super well. That's interesting. I wouldn't know what to do, but if you've never gone to this page, here, I'll throw it in chat for you. If you've never gone to that page, that might help you out with that. So thank you once again for the super chat. Yeah, anyone ever heard the song I'm My Own Grandpa? Yes, I love that song. That song's hilarious. Okay, so yeah, yes, there is very little. I haven't found much to go off of. Yeah. So, all right. let's get into this. We have 22 responses now, so let's see who gets chosen, and that's going to be number 3. Okay. Number 3. We've got Terry on YouTube. So Terry, if you're in here, I'll give you a couple of minutes to say you're in here so we can jump into that. Let me move that so I can see it better. And let's just kind of take a quick look. Main goal is to build the tree, find the parents of John Kennedy, 1826 to 1888. He lived and died in the parish of Mahunach, Castlemahan in County Limerick. He married Mary Roridan on an unknown date and had 4 children, all baptized in this area. His date of death was found through 2 marriage records of his son John, occupation. Okay. So looks like this one will be a tough one, but we'll have to see. Hey, there he is. There they are. I don't know if Terry Johns. Hello, Terry. Thank you for joining. So all right, so let's dive into it. Let's see what we've got going on here. So let's see. Oh, why is it? Oh, that's why. All right, so John Kennedy, Mary. So let's take a look at John in this tree. All right, let's see what he said. He lived and died in parish of Mahuna, Castlemahan, married Mary Roridan on an unknown date, had 4 children, all baptized. These are their dates. We only have 1 of the kids in this tree, though. Let's see. Is this a different? Terry? Is this a different tree, or is this just a different person in the same tree? No, this is a different tree. Okay. Okay. So interesting. There we go. So we've got those lining up, but only 1 son in both of the trees. Not all info is on the tree. Sorry. Oh yeah, no problem. No problem. I mean, this is where the whole point of this stream comes in, because that would be when I see something like that. That is then going to be my goal. Build that family tree out to get the siblings, because if we're trying to, let's see, the main goal is to build the tree and find the parents of John Kennedy. Well, if we only have stuff built out for the 1 son, if we can build things out for the other kids, maybe there's going to be more information. So this is what's known as fan research, family associates and neighbors. Some people will call fan research friends, associates, and neighbors. I kind of think of it as both in a sense. But basically the idea is you're not necessarily focused on researching the person that's the aim, which here is John Kennedy. Instead, you're focusing on people that are right nearby, where information on them may give us information on John that we wouldn't find by only focusing on John. So what we're going to do, we're going to open this up here. We're going to add John Kennedy, 1826, 1888, 26, 88. Let's get that added. Go ahead and untether from our tether tree. And then, what was the wife's name? Mary Roridan. Spouse. Did I spell that right? Whoops. Riordan. Okay. He lived in Mahuna Parish, also known as Castlemahan. So since we're on that, let's also see what the Family Search Wiki says. How do you spell that? Mahoon. And of course, it's probably not pronounced the way I'm pronouncing it, but I am not known for correct pronunciations. So this is what I was pulling up. So that way, if we have a question about something, we can jump in and see. Granted, there's not a lot going on, really just more kind of general what we might get. We've got the general church records here. So just general Irish church records. And then nothing on that. Okay, so just got the basics. Let's pull this here. Let's pull that there. And then let's get John added in. Son, John Kennedy. And just so we can get some good stuff, June 1850. Whoops. Oh, yeah, that's what I meant. 18 December 1934. But we're going to add in this stuff too. So Catherine, 1848. John, 1850. Patrick, 1852. Mary, 1854. 1854. Save that, and let's see what we're looking at in terms of hints and all that. Because one thing I'd like to do is get the stuff from these trees or other trees for John Kennedy in there, because just adding that in may help in the hint and searching and all of that for the rest. So we're gonna add his spouses. So Mary O'Callahan for the first. And 20 October 1866. Is that Limerick too? Oh, yeah, Munich, and then St. John's Hospital. Okay. Something 1923. St. John's Hospital. Is it St. John's Hospital? New Road. Okay. None of that was okay. We're just gonna do Limerick. We're just gonna do Limerick. All right. Getting anything for you, John? Nothing. All right, let's just do a search then. We'll just do a search. Just do a search. Okay. If you look up Mahuna Catholic records, you'll find the Catholic parish registers at the NLI. Okay. So there we go. All right. Very cool. So we'll have to dive into some of those. So let's see. So I just wanted to get this added in nicely. That's not, is that him? No. All right, well, let's see. June 1850. Let's look up John Kennedy's first. So it's going to be in here. so we need to find 1850. Never gone through these records before, but one of the things that I always like to talk about in terms of what a genealogist is good at, genealogists are good at finding things. So I know I get comments all the time of various videos, especially when I do reactions about stuff that, might be population I haven't looked into that much, is, people be like, how can you not know so much and call yourself a genealogist? And I've mentioned this in other streams too, but it's, it's just one of those things of that there are so many population groups and so many various different unique things of history that you just can't. And so, for a lot of people kind of thinking that I don't know. It's that's not what genealogists are really good at. The genealogists are good at how to find stuff. So, especially with records like this, it just kind of becomes a matter of having done this with similar types of records. It's, Okay, so we are looking for John Kennedy. Trying to see. All right, so they've got the dates here. We're starting 1850. Yeah, see, are the months here listed differently? Because Anno Domini 1850. Like, is this split up by month or not? Because what I usually see is it'll be, this is the day of the month. So that's okay. That's January. So if that's January, that'd be February. All right. Well, either way, if it's June, it's okay. May. Where was that? I saw May 1634. So then this would be June. Okay. Is this it? That looks like Kennedy. Patrick Flaney. We didn't have a day, did we? 30? Did you have a day? No. Where's you? Oh, he was baptized June 30th. Okay, so that must be him. So I presume that must be John Kennedy. That's just so difficult to read, but I don't know. I mean, June 1850. So, okay. Interesting. Okay, yeah. See, this is where, my lack of expertise with Irish records is, is showing. And that's kind of what I'm talking about too. You could be good at finding stuff, but unless you know the nuances of things, because I would have never guessed that necessarily. Granted, Johann, I'm trying to think of other, but basically, John variations and things like that, it certainly makes sense, but the writing is very difficult to me. I don't know what this says exactly, but like here it looks like it says baptism Shannon. Like to me, that word right there looks like Shannon. I can see here. Okay, Johannum. So yeah, so that's yeah. Yeah, I agree. Portuguese, I guess Portuguese baptismal records aren't quite what I'm thinking, but I'm thinking of the records that are in Portuguese in the Portuguese Jewish communities. And sometimes they're kind of like this, but yeah, sometimes they give a lot more. So, Yeah, almost impossible to read. Yeah, but okay, so we have him in there. So but this isn't a birth. This is his baptism. So hence the birth just being June. So, but we want to focus. Let's focus on the siblings. So, let's see if we can find Patrick. Wait, no, that's. Well, we're at 1854. Who was 1854? Mary. Only problem is with Mary, we don't know when 1854. All right. Well, actually, you know what? I don't know if I'm really going to get much going on that. So let's take a look here. Do another search again. See if we can add anything in that we know would be our John, possibly. Yeah. See, for this kind of research, I would suggest as well, if you're not yet in the Genie Vlogger Discord, definitely get in there because some of the people in there have a lot of experience with Irish records. Matt Bishop talking over here. I think you've got a lot of experience with that. But there's also another Discord server that's specifically for Irish genealogy. So, yeah. Yeah, more often than not, you have to use context clues to read these because without context, it just looks like gibberish. And I think that's with all records. You know, there's so many records that, you know, I could show somebody and they would pick out the like main parts of it and be like, oh, okay, interesting, but not realize like that little text, those, you know, that, you know, two initials with the number next to it actually indicates something very significant or, you know, understanding name variation. So like with Jewish genealogy, something that a lot of people don't realize is that a lot of Jewish people had multiple names that they would use that correlated to each other. So as an example, my great grandfather was Harry. He also was known as Hirsch, but then he was also known as Svi. And Harry was just the anglicized version of Hirsch. Hirsch is deer in Yiddish, and Svi is deer in Hebrew. So with all of those names, if I found a record that seemed to be him and I only know the name Harry and Hirsch, but it was a Svi, I'd be like, why is it telling me this is what it is? You know, so it's that sort of a thing. Oh, the invite for the Irish genealogy Discord too. So yeah, nuance, context, it's all very important with all genealogy. Okay, so the main aim I have here is doing that fan research for John Kennedy's other children. So not much is coming up on him right now. So we know that this John Kennedy, there's a lot of trees for him. So I'm going to see if I can get some stuff added straight in from there. I wonder, is this the correct John? I'm not familiar with the censuses. The Irish censuses. But obviously we don't have any kids yet to correlate. But I guess we could. We have these two trees that have a lot. This one might be true, but this is whenever you see a tree where there's two wives and a ton of kids, it can be questionable. The number one thing you want to check is, do the kids line up? And they do, in the sense that with this wife, the last child is 1887, which is the same year the wife passes away. And then this child, the first one's 1889. So that makes it seem like, yes, it could be very well be him. And of course, yes, he did marry twice. That's all true. So, okay, so that gives us a good hint for what we're looking at over here with the census 1911. And 1911, obviously, it's going to be the second wife. Both marries anyway, although this one much younger. And then let's see if the kids line up too, and then we can add that in. So Catherine 19, that'd be what, 1892? Okay, so we got Catherine, then Daniel right there, Bridget, yep, then Nora and Margaret, Robert and George. Okay, so I think that's them. So we'll just get all of this added in nice and quickly. And hopefully this should give us a lot more in terms of hints, which should hopefully translate to getting more information on the siblings of this John Kennedy. Okay. Yeah, that's the other thing we can do, which I didn't think about. Yeah, you can go into these profiles. So we've got Patrick Kennedy here. So son of John Kennedy. There should be a photo on this page. Nice. Oh, yeah. We saw that photo, didn't we? They already have that in the tree. All right. So, and then okay, this person has it linked to the GRO records for Ireland, the General Register's Office, which I have a lot of experience with the UK's General Register Office, but not the Irish one. So, irishgenealogy.ie. Is this the Irish GRO or? Okay, the Irish GRO is a whole different thing. That must have just been company. So is it like the UK one where you have to pay for stuff? Interesting. Okay. All right. Well, we've got what we want here. Yeah, all free. Oh, even better. All right. So, all right. If that's the case, wait. Actually, let's see. I mean, we're getting member photos. All right. Here's the marriage record, the GRO. So John, widower. John Kennedy dead. His father's passed away. Okay, this is his son's births. All right, let's see. How far back to the births? Oh, wait. I think I'm looking in the wrong place. Research. Oh, it is. Oh, it is that site. Okay. Did I spell that right? Oh. Should I do by county? The marriage and birth are too early. Okay. So yeah, I mean, if you've already used this site, I doubt there's anything I'd find with it. Having very little experience with this site specifically. Yeah, by county is easier. Okay. So All right, but the question is, okay, so if we have it for John, do you have it for the other siblings? How early are the earliest? Let's see what we've got. Okay, from 1864 and non-Catholic marriages from 1845. We've got indexes here, so okay. Can't find the others actually. Okay. So that would really be the big thing, I think, is getting stuff to fit for them, to find more on the siblings. All right, let's see. Do any of these trees have stuff on siblings? That one does not. That's what I'm getting. Okay. So now what I want to do is basically just try to see if I can find this video. I want to see if I can find a census record or something where he's with his siblings. 1901, TV2. Which I guess we're probably not going to get. Let's go back to census records. Okay, property records. Only 1901, 1911, yeah. So does anyone know anything about the siblings, or it's just someone found the siblings by going through the registers and identifying Mary Riordan and John Kennedy as the parents? So can we just do a see what we can find for related to him. Oh, 1826. All those are Antrim, not the right county. Oh, yeah, here we go. Huh. So they're not finding any Kennedys in what they have for those years, in Limerick at least. Then again, I don't know how completely. See what we got going on. Okay. Yeah. I'm not familiar with Griffiths Valshin, but I did see that just right here. Yeah, so it looks like he gave me a good brick wall. Yeah, Irish lineages are a pain. Well, I can say from my little bit of experience in the YouTuber family tree realm of trying to do the Irish trees, it's been difficult. For cynical historian Joe Hall Patton, I've been researching one of his Irish lines that came over in the 1800s. Have some great stories about them in the U.S., but I got Daniel Loftus to help me in researching them in Ireland, and he tried to get a few other people to help, and then I contacted somebody else too. I can't remember their name, from some company or something, and basically everyone said there's not a single thing we can find on any of these people in Ireland. It's like all these people that are like, some of the, really experienced people in Ireland. So I don't know if that's something I've ever had you take a look into, Matt. Maybe I should have you take a look into it. See. So, yeah. All right. So I think we've been going at this one for a pretty good while. Unfortunately, we haven't made that big of a dent necessarily, but just to kind of talk about where I would obviously go from here, which is what I was kind of doing, is attempting that fan research. So obviously the main aim is to build John Kennedy's family tree back further, but we already have these other siblings, which closer in time, we have a higher likelihood of finding information about them. So hopefully, you can pull something up on them, and maybe that will give you just a bit more information to pull that out, information on John. The other thing too, if you haven't done DNA yet, look into DNA testing, because especially if you can find descendants of John Kennedy's siblings, then maybe that'll help in identifying specific segments that you can then say likely come from at least John Kennedy and Mary Riordan. So it gives you something to work with. And of course, Y-DNA, that's always something to look into if you have a Kennedy descendant who can, which, we've got these 4 Kennedys right here that there's a possibility. I'm not going to keep pulling down. So, okay. So, I think that was pretty good. We're going to close out all of that. I'll leave that open. Yeah, DNA hasn't solved my Irish brick walls. I mean, DNA is just a difficult thing to get down sometimes with genetic genealogy. And, the hardest part about DNA testing with, trying to get it to expand your family tree is if you come from a family where the records just aren't there, it's really hard to make use of the DNA, because you need to correlate not just the DNA, but also the family trees and all of that too. So, yeah, I'm glad to help, Terry. So, all right. So let's see. We're up to 25. I'm just going to go ahead and do it because this is definitely going to be the last one. And you know what? We're going to do it on this random.org just to make it a little different. Number 15. Okay. So, AZ is my YouTube handle. So AZ, if you are in here, jump on in, let us know. We are looking at Welsh ancestry, which, oh boy, am I terrible at that. This is where we need Di Davies to come in. So pull up Di's channel. So for those who are not familiar, Di Davies is a genealogist that specializes in Welsh ancestry. And if I were even to try to attempt to pronounce their YouTube channel, I don't know. It'd be terrible. I'm not even going to try it. But for Welsh ancestry, this is the place to go. Is that you, Abbott Zygo? Are you AZ? Because let's see. Do you say that anywhere in here? AZ. Das ist nicht. That is Yao. I don't know if that translates well in German, but yeah. First, you need to know Welsh. Yeah. Okay. Well. Okay. Perfect. Well, even if I can't find anything, if you're not familiar with this YouTube channel, go and check it out. Great channel. Di is a very knowledgeable person. A lot of really interesting videos. Doesn't release a ton, every now and again, but you know, last active one was 3 months ago. But really great channel. Di knows what they're talking about, and yeah. So, all right. Now, with that said, let's see what we can do with this. Identify parents of John John. Is that the name, John John? That's going to be even. I've heard difficulty doing John Smith, but John John. Whoa, what happened there? Oh, we don't have a link. So if you can link it in the chat or something, because right now I've been going off John John, Welsh great grandfather. That's not a. I'm not going to be able to get anything from it. So yeah, I'm going to keep an eye out. Yeah. Thank you very much. Wow, I saw your videos reacting to people taking ancestry tests and seeing their results. I thought it was really cool. Big hug from Brazil. Well, thank you very much. Big hug received. Okay. And it doesn't have to be Ancestry. If it's on WikiTree or Genie or something else like that, that's fine too. Make sure to go like this video stream. Help Jared out by boosting that view to like ratio. Yes. And while we're also since we're on the topic, be sure to go follow my new channel. Oh, no, that's not what I want. I don't need to be in here. My new channel, Genie Vlogger Clips. Why can't, where is it? Why can't I go to my, my own channel? Why am I missing this? Oh, there it is. Okay. Yeah, so definitely go check out the new channel. Go subscribe. I'll put that in the chat. But yeah, so the plan is that for this channel, I've been doing so many live streams, and there's so much interesting stuff I've covered that, you know, I was like, let me start doing clips. And this is also kind of a way for me to try to, you know, make a little bit better revenue through YouTube. You know, I've got to try to survive. So just to, yeah, this is where I was going, just to kind of give everyone an idea of what you'll be looking forward to. The first video is going to come out on the 31st, and then I'll have clips coming out every single day as long as I can keep it up. And you'll see it varies of all sorts of stuff. And they're going to vary from very short clips of only a couple minutes long to some that are like straight up hour-long stuff. So like me, when I do the reactions to the YouTubers reacting to my videos, you know, and then some that are a little bit longer that are just talking about stuff or answering things. So lots of interesting, fun stuff. But every single thing that you'll be able to watch on the clip channel is stuff you can already see on my live streams. But yeah, I just figured I'd bring that up. Okay. Saw you commented that. Let's do that. All right. So John John. Wow. Oh, wait. Okay. So John John, but here John Jones. Or John James. Yep. It's hard to tell if it's James or Jones. It looks like it could be either. John John here. Wait, is that? Oh no, right down here. I was like, that doesn't look like John. So I guess it looks like Welsh surnames were somewhat fluid in terms of. Yeah, interesting. Okay. So Welsh patronymics. Okay, interesting. So instead of like a Scandinavian patronymic, which would be Johnson, or a Cyrillic, which would be Janovich, Janovich, probably Yankelovich to be more honest. Yeah, so you've got a pretty good amount, and so your goal is basically to identify his parents. Okay. So yeah, so I wouldn't even know necessarily where to start without researching further. Basically, just researching what's available in Wales and all that stuff. So one of the things I pull up all the time, the Family Search Wiki. And then that's it right there, I guess. So this is where I'd go. Basically, I'd read through this, see what's going on. What do we have available? One of the things with these pages, which we're not getting here, is that if there are archives that hold things that aren't online, a lot of times this is the place where you'll find it. It may be further down in here, which let's see. Is that one of these? I'm not sure. So yeah, so I'm not quite sure. So, but I guess in one of these, wherever that Pembry is, who knows if I'm pronouncing that right. There's one thing I've learned about Welsh. It's the way that it looks like it should be pronounced is definitely not the way that it should be pronounced. The way they pronounce the letters is very different. Which I believe Dai did a video about that on their channel. So this would be the other place I'd look. And, let's go back to placeholder for now. So we're looking 1796, 1871. So presumably the parents born, mid to late 70s. It could be anywhere from, 1750s to, 1780, I think would probably be kind of the latest, really young teenagers having kids sort of thing, which is certainly possible. I have found family trees where it is confirmed of, 15-year-olds and 16-year-olds having children, male or female. So 1796, so parents, 1770s, all that. So looking at here, we definitely have a lot that should hopefully fall into that. Granted, we are dealing with something where, John. Now, you did mention that's a patronymic. So if it is a patronymic, then presumably the father's name would also be John, or, something along those lines. And, that's where a big context is also going to come in here, where when you're trying to find the parents of somebody, something to consider is the community that they're coming from and possible naming patterns. So for different communities, it'll vary. An example I always use, because this is what I know, Ashkenazi Jewish, you're usually going to see, the first, the children are going to be named after relatives who have passed away. So if the, relative is still alive, they're probably not going to be named after them. But then for Sephardic Jews, it's not the same. For Sephardic Jews, it's usually, naming after the first, paternal parent and all that. Traditions, yeah. So just a quick, only a deceased relative's name may be used. And, so I don't know if let's see, Welsh naming patterns. So Welsh naming, so another place where the wiki comes in handy. So patronymic names. So yeah, let's see, patronymics down here. So yeah, this is all the stuff that, this is one of the reasons why I think it's so difficult for me to really try to work on brick walls in these streams. Granted, I'm obviously I'm gonna always give it a go. But when you get into a population that you just haven't had that much experience with, you really need to learn the context in those various things. So that one of the biggest reasons why every time I have a YouTuber family tree episode, you almost always see an expert or an archivist or somebody from somewhere who has that expertise or that specialty. Or if you want to make it really basic, just the knowledge. So father's given name, using a father's given name as a surname was the most common. So we're here's surname. So here we've got the pattern: John Evans, Thomas Johns, David John, John, etc. John Johns, and then their children, John. Yeah. So more than likely, obviously with that, then we're looking at, Father John something. Obviously, we're not going to know his patronymic necessarily, but then that's where the question of proper name may come in. So this is all surnames. So common name problems. Establish an identity for your ancestry. You must know more about your ancestor. I'll identify records, find and use, create a database, use more. Okay. So the main idea here is just depending on whatever the context is, which, I'm not going to make you all watch me read all of this to try to figure it out. But, if this were, let's say this were a family tree for a Sephardic family. And I'm looking at this and I find out that John was the oldest son of this John, or I guess maybe not. Let's see, 1840. So we find out that John is the oldest male son. So he is the oldest male son. So if he were a Sephardic naming tradition, he would have been named after the paternal grandfather, which would then mean that John's father's name would most likely be John. So another John. Whether that's the case or not, I'm not 100% sure, but that's where the context of things also comes in. So this could be this could be something you may already know, AZ. But yeah, it can be difficult. I saw this. Hi, just found you and would like to see how a stream about this subject is like. Not sure what I get out of it since I am from Europe. Well, if you can already see, we're researching a family in Wales. This stream, we go over all sorts of ancestries from all over the place. I do a lot of Dutch research too. I do a lot of Ukrainian research. I do a lot of Eastern European research, a lot of Jewish research, a lot of variety. Obviously, a lot of American research too. But yeah, welcome to the stream. Hopefully, you enjoy it. But yeah, so that's where I would go from here with this, is just learning more about the Welsh common name customs, because is there anything that you could use to figure that out, both for the mom and the dad? Because we are looking for the parents, and so we look at 1841, and who's the oldest daughter? Mary. So if that is the naming custom of, oldest daughter is named after the paternal mother, well, then maybe it's the paternal mom's name, or maybe it's, the maternal mother's who the first daughter is named after, and the paternal mother is the second daughter. So maybe it's Elizabeth. So just getting those. And when you do that, just know that as you add it in, it's not verified. You're just doing a hypothesis. And so you can put that tag in of hypothesis. So, yeah. Let's see. Okay. Sorry, I was just I saw a question in the comments that I think I'll answer in just a second. I just wanted, because I saw this section too, I just wanted to kind of do a quick look through and see if there's anything that stood out. Because I'm sure these are the main records everybody goes through. But looking at these records, that's what I would ask. Have you done any of this? Because this may be the places where you find that information, especially, if you've got a lot of information about John, which it seems that there is a lot of information, then if you can find possible land records or probate records, taxation records, things, and of course, just anything that might give information on the parents. Something that can be helpful too. Is there anything that you can find that can help you identify an estimated death date of John's parents? So we're gonna go ahead. I'm gonna get this going just to kind of show how I would do this tree for my own research. 1796, about March. So 1871. We'll put the March in there too. I'll include the March. And then, yeah, Pembrey. And pass away in Wales? Yes. I'll just do the like that. All right, so wow, we already got something up. Not surprising with someone who's called John. All right, so we're gonna remove that. So the way that I would do this, just gonna add in the basics here. We've got Elizabeth Williams, 1791, 1863, 1791, 1863. Not making it super special. And then son, John, 1832, 1910. Was it 1910? Yeah. Okay, so I'm just doing that real quick because the way that I would do this, based on what we know, okay, this is a patronymic system. His last name is John, and so we would think, okay, his father's name must be John. But if the surnames are patronymic, we don't know what his father's surname is. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 5 underscores. And this allows me to know when I see John, I know it's John we know, but last name we don't. Now, if it was the opposite way, so let's say it's mom, we don't know, but we know her last name is John. The 5 underscores is a way so you know what name is the unknown name. So this is something I always like to suggest. But yeah, so we're gonna delete mom. Delete person. Okay, delete. Wait, it's not a patronymic. His father may not be called John. I thought you said before, though, that it was a patronymic. I thought you said the Jones-John connection was part of that patronymic thing. But like I said, too, this is just assuming based on what we have. So I won't leave it like this. What I do is I'm going to go in and I'm going to add the as a hypothesis and unverified and actively researching. And that way, if anyone comes in, so, okay, very old patronymic, later adopted as a surname. So at this time, let me ask this, are you confident that it wasn't used as a patronymic for this family? Or are you not sure if it was just a surname of, every generation gets John, John's son, Edward John, will have kids who are then still, John, not, Edwardson or whatever. So I see yes, but I guess you're confident about it? Like you're confident that it's not a patronymic. Is just what we would consider the typical surname sort of thing. So okay, so yeah. If that is the case, obviously the one I'm saying here is not going to be whatever. So okay, so it was okay, but here's the thing though. But if we don't know John's father, are we sure that it wasn't a patronymic? Because even if there were a lot of families that use the John name, but I guess let's see, Welsh naming customs. So many pre-1800. So yeah, I guess this is where, let's see, what's the date that surnames come into play? Is there a date? Okay, generally the patronymic name and various name customs were coming to an end by 1837. Okay, depends on the area. So yeah, so a lot of nuance, a lot of context to figure that out. So yeah, obviously, I guess if in the area that they're living, patronymics have been phased out for a long time, it would be very odd for that. So, but here we're getting some, father surname. Sometimes the son was given his father's surname. Yeah. So So, but yeah, it sounds like you've done a ton of research on the family, and based on everything that you know, if you have not watched Dai's channel, which I mentioned before, check that out. Definitely go check that out. So, but unfortunately, I think here, I think I'm not going to be knowledgeable enough to really help out that much. Yeah, it started as a patronymic, and then sometime they stopped changing it John Stock. Yeah, which happens a lot in a lot of these patronymic sort of families. Gosh, I don't know if you've all noticed. I've been like scratching my nose and stuff. It's like slowly starting to get cold here, and it's definitely been affecting me. Okay. I have John's surname from same place in 1810's a brick wall. Huh. I wonder if you and AZ might be cousins or something. That'd be cool. So, all right. Well, what time is it? 5:45. Okay. I saw there was a question up here. I don't know if they're still here, but I just saw this. People ask stuff like this all the time. I'd like to know more about mitochondrial DNA L3B or L3B2. I've tried to find information, but there's not much available. I know it's of African origin, but I'm unsure about its presence in specific populations. So one of the things with mitochondrial DNA is it can trace really far back with your matching. So that's one of the difficulties with it. So even when you have like a really well-defined haplogroup for mitochondrial DNA, it's still like 1,000 years or 2,000 years back that you may be related to those people. So what I've pulled up here, this is the Y-full mitochondrial family tree. And basically you can go through and then, here, let me, they don't have it where it's not like their actual Y tree where you can look at it as a family tree sort of thing. But basically, this is a family tree. So you can think of this as like a parent haplogroup, L3B, and then it has the subclades, the further haplogroup. So L3B is the parent to these L3Bs that don't have a specific defined terminal SNP. But then this one has the defined terminal SNPs, and they're L3B1. And so, if you want L3B2, you just got to go down and let's just do L3B2. So here we go. We've got our L3B2s right here. And you can see that with this was formed before 20,000 years before present. So very, very old. And then the most recent common ancestor that all of these folks would have under here, you're looking at thousands of years back. So that's, you're not going to get a ton of information out of it. But what you can do to get, the specific populations that, it's present in, well, Y-full, you see who it's in, and you can see where the people that have this haplogroup are living. A lot of times they'll kind of give you some of an indication of a population group. Like here we've got Louisiana. So, it might not necessarily be just a general US population. Maybe it's this person came from a Creole or Cajun ancestry on their mitochondrial line, and that's what they're indicating. But yeah, we can see, a lot of stuff, the Gambia. We've got Nigeria, Madagascar, more Gambia, Burkina Faso, Mali, big mix of stuff. But obviously, okay, so we've got one Italian, which does make sense in terms of if there's going to be African connections in Europe, Italy would certainly make sense along with Spain. So not a ton of people here under the, oh, this is LB3. I guess L3B2, it's, yeah. So that, that's how you find that stuff out. And there's a lot of different phylogenetic family trees out there. So let's see. Wikipedia. Does Wikipedia have the mitochondrial? So, oh no, this is in their forums. Let me see. Wikipedia L3B. That's not it. I guess, yeah, I'm not gonna try to find it while I'm here, but there's different what's known as phylogenetic trees, and that's what this is. So that's what you can use to find it. But yeah, unfortunately there's not a ton you can really gain off of the mitochondrial DNA genealogically. Certainly gives you an idea of that purely maternal line, but yeah. All right, so let's see. Yeah, understand the allergies. We had grass fires and the smoke laid me low. Yeah. One thing that happens to me that I didn't realize sometimes is I have these hairs right here on my mustache that sometimes they like, I guess, I don't know why, like they like poke out sometimes, and like they'll poke up and scratch the bottom of my nose. And I'll just be like, oh my gosh, my nose itches so much. And then I'll look in the mirror and I'll see like a little hair curled up, just like barely scratching the bottom of my nose. Yeah. Oh, sorry to hear that, Sebig. Sebig. I don't know the proper pronunciation. I think I've always said Sebog. But yeah, feel better soon. Mom's first cousin has a family Bible with some dates, but it's written in pencil that some are wrong. She was born about 1814, died 1883. Interesting. All right. Trying to think if I want to do another one. I've already been going for almost 2 hours. So you know what? Let's do it. Let's just do it. We've got a pretty good stream going on today. A lot of people. Might as well do another shout out. If you haven't subscribed to the new Genie Vlogger Clips channel. It helped me out a great deal. Let's make that bigger. So first clips will be coming out their first clip will come out October 31st, and then new one come out every day. So, and when you see them, watch them too. I need to get the subscriber count and the watch time up and hopefully get that monetized so I can start bringing in more revenue streams and make sure that I can continue to live and do this stuff and not have to, get a job again. Make this my job. All right. Random number generator. Still at 25. So let's do 24. All right. Got someone who did a late submission. Cosmic Slice. Yes, more danger. All right. Let's see if Cosmic is in here. Give them a minute. I know I saw them commenting before. So, trying to find the parents of Alfred Snyder. Born in Lower Canada, Quebec, around 1824, married Jane Mills. Perfect, yeah. In Whitby, Ontario. So we're looking at Canadian family. Cannot find his date of death. Okay, census record, land records, Ontario birth and death records. Look through records for associated family for clues. And have coordinated with cousins for record checking. Okay, we got a link to post. Okay, trying to find more Alfred Snyder. Jane's family, the Snyder line is an enigma. Their son, John William, my great-grandfather, vanished after his wife died and left their only daughter with their maternal grandparents, and I've never found a trace of him after. Okay. Interesting. So we're focused on Alfred, but it was John. Was it John that you said Vanished. Okay. So, but you couldn't find a death record for Alfred, I think you said. All right, let's go here. So, I do Control V and then I don't hold Control long enough. By the way, that's a quick trick. If people didn't notice this, you wouldn't have seen it in the URL. The URL is a .ca for Canada. So if anyone ever sends you a link for Ancestry and you're in the US and it says .uk or .ca or .au or .nz or whatever, that's the other countries, and you'll go in and it'll be like, you're not logged in. What you need to do is change that to a .com. And then same thing if you're, if you're in the UK and you get a .com, change it to .uk or whatever. Okay, so we've got Alfred Snyder. We've got links here to Family Search, the Northern Advance. Interesting. Oh, that's someone's tree. Why is it called the Northern Advance? Oh, there's like nothing there either. Okay. Okay, so don't have a date of death, but all right, so let's get Alfred in here, 1824. Little Canada. Untethered. And then was it just 1824? Or, I don't know, I guess that's fine. Jane Mills. Oh, he's not living. He's deceased. So the last record that you have of him is this 1881 census. Origin Dutch. Okay. Birthplace, Lower Canada. Lower Canada. Quebec. And all of a sudden, origin Dutch. But I'm also, is origin for this the same as birthplace, or is that like, is that? Okay, yeah, Dutch, Irish, Dutch. We don't think the Dutch is correct, though. Can you give me why don't you believe that it's correct? Because I guess for me, what I would be thinking here is that, oh yeah, no, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Not necessarily, I wouldn't even call it race. I would call it ancestry, ancestral background. Dutch is probably Deutsch then. It's possible. I don't know. I mean, in Canada and the US around the 1880s, I feel like Dutch was Dutch. I think every German was German. I don't think there was any Deutsch. I don't think. Yeah, I don't know if that's the case, Charlie. It's certainly possible. But in my experience, at least in the US at this time, you see Dutch, or even in the UK, you see Dutch. It's Dutch. Yeah, Snyder. I'm guessing for the latter, Snyder, SNJDER. So, which there's a ton of Snyders. So the other question is too, and let's see if 1881 has it, because Daniel made a good point. If someone self-reports, though, is there a way to indicate who is giving the information? For some censuses they give that, for some they don't. So yeah. Okay, yeah. So I guess you're also referencing in what they may be referring to. So yeah, would they say Deutsch meaning German and the enumerator thinks Dutch? Or yeah, there's all certainly things to always consider. Always things to consider. So yeah, so but that's about so that is something interesting, because Snyder is a Dutch name. or not a Dutch name, but it's a name found in the Netherlands. I don't know if it's necessarily Dutch specific. So we've got Alfred Snyder. Let's get some of this stuff added in. Oops, that's saved person in your tree, Alfred. I'd hired someone to look around a bit in Quebec, and they thought Alfred might be German Palatine. Okay, so yeah, so I mean, I guess, yeah, I wouldn't necessarily rule out either one, but obviously, if you have something that would indicate more of a German, then yeah, what Charlie and the others are saying about Dutch being Deutsch, that may be true. So yeah, so my experience is only my experience, and I also am only talking about the U.S., so it might not really apply quite the same here, obviously. All right, so back here. Let's just do a quick. I guess the other thing to consider as well is what are the migration patterns? Now, I'm assuming you've seen these trees, which obviously give a family. Here we have a death record. But is there any reason that you have to believe that this is not correct if you've seen this? So when died? 1896. And 5 farmer. Physician. Remarks. This registration was made in by caretaker of. Yeah, I'm not sure what that says. Interesting. So somebody thinks this must be him. At least Catherine Fontaine. All right, this tree has more to it. So let's see what they say. Pretty sure that Henry was put there by my cousin Victoria, but she now thinks he was not Alfred's father. Okay. Yeah. Now it looks like there's siblings of or the other known kids of this Henry and Mary. So that would be something DNA wise to look into. Is are you connecting with any of them? What are these marriages for? Child Emma, child John. So this is theirs right here. Alfred Jane Mills. Witnesses. Is that names apart? Okay. So witnesses, authority by license. What does that say? Publication of banns. Oh, like a marriage bond. They call it banns. Interesting. So I guess, marriage bond, from what I understand it, at least in the Dutch sense, is where they're basically, making a public announcement of, we plan to get married. So in the Netherlands, that's the Undertrouw Register. Undertrouw Register. One thing that made Dutch easy for me is having already learned Hebrew when I was younger, because we have the ch. So, yeah. Ik heb geen problems. I don't know how to say problem. Problemache. Okay. Every DNA. Oh, why is that not coming up? There we go. Every DNA cousin I've connected with all have a my grandmother was given up for adoption story. Oh, that's always difficult. When looking at Agerman name, you need to consider a German name. You need to consider Danish as well as their land borders connected. Yeah, you're right. The what is it? The I can never remember the name. Holstein region or whatever. Schleswig-Holstein, is that it? Schleswig-Holstein region. The southern, what used to be southern Denmark, what is now northern Germany, not too far from Hamburg. What is that called? What is that called? Yeah, Schleswig-Holstein. That's it. What is that called? What is that called? Do you speak Yiddish? That's also pretty close to Dutch. I don't speak Yiddish, but I grew up with a lot of Yiddish being spoken around me, but not like fluent Yiddish, but more of like, little sayings and things, so I always grew up like, my dad would say stuff like punum, look at that punum, or, I always heard in synagogue, and they talk about, Shana Madel, or Shana Madel basically being like a pretty girl or something like that. There's a lot of other, like a lot of things that like I can't think about, but if I like hear someone mention, like say words in Yiddish or something, it's like I can kind of understand it. But yeah, that I will say, there's been a lot of stuff I've learned in a lot of languages over the years that when I've started learning Dutch, it's made it a lot easier in a lot of various ways, but also in the same way that it's helped me in terms of like learning how to phonetically read Cyrillic. And a big part of that was because I was in a Christian fraternity, funny enough, called Sigma Chi. Still am a Sigma Chi member. And in that, we had to learn the Greek alphabet and kind of how to pronounce the, whatever. And because of that, that helped me with Cyrillic, because I already knew, if it looks like a P, that's going to be pronounced like an R, and, the PH sound or whatever. So, alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, iota, kappa, lambda, mu, nu, xi, omicron, pi, rho, sigma, tau, epsilon, phi, chi, psi, omega. Did I do that right? Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, iota, kappa, lambda, mu, nu, xi, omicron, pi, rho, sigma, tau, epsilon, phi, chi, psi, omega. I don't know if I did that right. Someone tell me. Yeah, Schleswig-Holstein. So interestingly enough, if you go and watch the Drew Dernill video, I talk about how his third great grandfather's brother, Peter Westenskau, fought in the Schleswig-Holstein War in the 1860s. The third one, I think it was. It's like 1861, 1862, something like that. I can't remember. So yeah, a person being a mensch, yeah, good, good person. Verhakte, or Mashugana, for someone who's not good. Then of course there's some like colors are somewhat similar. So in Dutch, zwart is black, and then schwarz in Svats. I never pronounced it right exactly because it's like looks a little different, but it's all very similar, So yeah. Yeah. Second War, 1864, when Denmark lost Schleswig-Holstein. Yeah, that's when it was. Yeah. Always helpful to know insults in other languages. Very true. Honestly, I just loved learning all sorts of stuff with languages. I've never been able to get to that point of fluency with them, but I definitely know a lot more of certain languages than I'd think. Sometimes, like with French, I really wouldn't consider myself to speak French at all. But then when I went to visit Esnoga in Amsterdam, and we did one of the tours around the synagogue, one of the guys there was French. And so I was talking to him, and somehow he asked me about, well, do you know any French? And it's like, un petit, je suis un petit, what is it? Je m'appelle Jared, j'habite in United States, I don't know. Bonjour à tous. Yeah, but it's just like, oh yeah, I guess I know more than like a couple of, things, but, yo hablo un poquito español. Espanol is, well, gosh, I was about to say Espanol is mine Ersta lingua. Who needs Spanglish when you have Sputch, Spanish and Dutch? Yeah, so all right. Etatsunis. I don't know what that. I shoot, most alive. Yeah, Miss Tree Moon. You missed most alive today. I'm actually the last one we're kind of looking at this Alfred Snyder, which I'm not making much getting in here, but also where is it? Yeah, Cosmic Slice seems to know a lot about their family tree. So yeah, and you said you paid you paid a professional genealogist in Quebec to take a look into it. Yeah, hired someone to look around a bit in Quebec. Yeah, and if you're hiring someone who specializes in this research who lives in Quebec, they're going to be running circles around me because I've never researched, or I guess I've very minimally researched Quebec ancestry because for Max Miller, I did find that his recently uncovered great grandmother, whose name he never knew before my research because his grandfather was adopted. Well, for a few years, she lived in what was known as Berlin, Ontario, Canada. And then in the 19 teens, I think because of World War I, which makes sense, they changed the name from Berlin to Kitchener. And interestingly enough, I actually found a newspaper article of Max's great grandmother Bertha being on the honor roll for her schools. That's cool. Yeah, so again, I don't know how helpful I was for you, Cosmic. I think we just kind of went through the basics of stuff, getting it set up. Because when I saw that Dutch, that was like, oh, that seems promising. So I mean, we've got all this other stuff going on. He was of the opinion that the Snyders were not in the province long as he came up with Bubkiss at the research library, which could be which could be the case. And this is where my suggestion would be, is getting into the hypothesis research, I guess would be a way to say it. Basically, you had that Henry Snyder and the other and a woman named as the possible mother, although you said that your cousin who found that thinks that might not be true. What I would do is, understanding that it may not be true, look into it as if it might be. Also look into it to see if you can disprove it as well. But just kind of coming up with things like that to see what you might be able to find. At least having that Dutch, German, Danish, whatever, at least it's giving you a specific region in Europe. It's still a large area, but at least you kind of have an idea of where you might be looking for Snyders. And yeah. Let's see. Fun fact: less than 100 people voted for the name change from Berlin to Kitchener. Very interesting. Very interesting. So, but yeah, now you also know Max Miller's great grandmother lived there for a while, and actually, Max has a bunch of cousins who still live in Canada because of that. Because when the family moved back to the U.S., Max's great grandmother had a sister who had married someone in Ontario. They stayed there. They had kids. Some of the kids stayed in Ontario, while Max's great aunt and her husband moved out west to Edmonton, out to Calgary. Edmonton, Calgary, or Alberta. That's it. I'm not the greatest with my geography, but I'm better than most Americans. So, yeah. So the only other thing I would say too, looking into this, is kind of like what I was saying with the last tree we were looking into. I would suggest starting out with looking at the context of the community they're coming from. So is it a religious community? Is it a not religious community? And one other thing that might be helpful too is doing that fan research for Jane and the kids to see, are they part of anything that would be culturally related. I don't know if that's the case here. I don't know how common it was for others, but for people who are Jewish, a lot of us can figure out where our family may have come from because we look and see just where they're buried in a cemetery. And there'll be certain sections of the cemetery that are, aimed for certain people from certain places. So, like, my great grandmother Pearl was part of the Tulchiners beneficial because she came from Tulchin in Venetia Oblast. Or is Venetia an Oblast? Yeah, Venetia Oblast. If any of my Ukrainians are in here, tell me. But in Venetia Oblast, and the Tulchiners all are buried in the Tulchiner Beneficial Society part of the cemetery. A lot of times, too, you might have people where, they may have, there's some sort of a, social club or society that's geared towards people from a certain culture, ethnicity. So seeing if anything like that can turn anything up of hints. And then also, is there anything tied to those, if you find that are connected to naming patterns? So like we talked about before, if Alfred's oldest son is William, well, would it have been common that William's named after his father's father or not so much? Or yeah. All of Albert and Jane's kids kind of vanished except for one, and one of the girls had nothing but illegitimate children. So, okay. It's a lot of difficulty. So, okay. I think with that, I'm going to call it for the day. We've been going for over 2 hours, but as always, I so appreciate everybody being here. One last shout out for the new the new clip channel. Why does it look like it looks like I have braces the way that it's like making my teeth? Hopefully that's not a good thing. That means my teeth look green. That's not good. That's terrible. Does that fix it? Hey, I fixed it. Okay. Okay, so follow this. I have a short coming out on the main channel on Tuesday, and it's going to be about how Max Miller is related to one of the victims of the Titanic. So that's going to be a really, really interesting one. So keep your eye out on the main channel for that. And then Monday, if everything goes well, because I screwed up and didn't get it to my editor in time. So thank you, Kenny, if you get it to me in time. We'll have that reaction to Company Man's video about 23andMe. Thank you all again. Have a wonderful rest of your Friday. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. I will see you all next week. I am Jarrett Ross, the Genie Vlogger. I'm out.